All right, you guys. So this is a viewer requested topic just for you. Okay.
Woohoo!
We actually were not going to cover this because this is one of those cases that people have gotten invested in, and it's almost at an unhealthy level. And I think you were actually one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just so awful. It's such a tragic situation that it's really hard not to get invested at that level. You know what I mean?
When this first broke, when Chris Watts, okay, was on the news talking about his missing wife and children, the country knew he was guilty. Okay,
Yeah.
Everybody, and I followed it from that moment. From the moment he was on the news talking about
Worst
it.
poker face ever.
I followed it. And then to find out what happened to this family, to these little girls and this pregnant mom, it broke me. Like, I had a very unhealthy obsession. I mean, what's the obsession? The YouTube channel literally was formed off of this crime.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible. And I had to literally take a step back from watching any coverage on it. Because it was too much. It was just too much. And I feel like there's still more questions left in this case that have yet to be answered.
Yep. So, what we are talking about is the Watts family murders that happened on August 13th, 2018, August 13th,
Another
2018, yes. In the early hours of August 13th, 2018, in Frederick, Colorado, American oil field operator Christopher Lee Watts ended his pregnant wife, Shanann, by strangulation, and their two children, Bella and Celeste, by smothering them. Awful case. And you can look at this family, and it is like the American family. And I think that's why it got under so many people's skin and made so many people obsessed with it, is because truly you look at these pictures and, like, not only were they a beautiful family, but they could also be the family that's right next door to you.
Absolutely.
On either side, back of you, front of you, whatever. You know, they just look like those types of people.
Yeah, and also Shanann posted so much to social media that you could have a parasocial relationship with them after they were gone.
Yes.
Like, you could literally watch their lives from the time the kids were itty-bitty to the age they were, which they were still itty-bitty.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It was just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to see those little girls so happy, so full of life, and then to know that their own father did this.
What happened to him.
It was so tragic.
Well, tonight we are not talking about the actual crime itself, you guys. But what we are talking about is the single person involved in this situation that ultimately caused Chris to choose to do this, in my opinion.
The catalyst.
Yes, the catalyst in this situation.
The flint and steel that lit the fire.
Yes, and I'm sure you guys already know who that is, but it is Nicole Kessinger, right? So, what was her involvement here? Now, according to her, they had only started dating in, January of 2018, I think is what it was. I think it was...
But she lies.
Yeah, so, or I'm sorry, June 2018. June 2018 is what they said. And I understand that there's some big concerns there, but I want to be able to at least give the baseline, the storyline of what we know from her interview and what Chris is saying and everything. Yeah. So according to them, their affair started in June of 2018. They actually went on a trip together, and there is picture evidence of that. They were around each other a whole bunch. They actually worked together at the same place, and that's where they both say that they met. However, okay, we're just going to jump right into this thing. There is no other way to go about it. There is no other storyline except for the fact that they both claim that she is innocent, that she had no idea, that she was just the other woman and didn't know about Shanann and didn't know about his kids at first, didn't know about anything, essentially, is what she's claiming, and actually what Chris is claiming too, okay? Well, Chris is caught. We're up to that point, right?
Yep.
And they start investigating and everything and digging into it, and they don't know about her yet. They don't know about Nicole yet. So they do get a call to let them know. And gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. Hang on. Where was the place that they worked?
It was an oil place.
Yep. It was an oil place. Look that up. But
yeah, I forgot what it's called.
So I had it written down and I forgot to, but hey, unscripted, but
Anadarko.
Anadarko, okay, they both worked at Anadarko, and they apparently met through there, and Chris was arrested, and somebody from Anadarko called the police, okay, and said, hey, you need to look into Nicole, because Nicole had actually been having a relationship with this guy. Almost immediately after that, you guys, Nicole calls into the police and then says, hey, just want to let you guys know I've been with this guy. And she didn't call on her own at first, which means that more than likely what people speculate is that because she had contacts to people in the office, that somebody let her know that, hey, so-and-so called the police and let them know about yours and Chris's affair. So then they think that she called like, oh, shoot, I could be in trouble here. You know what I mean? So they end up pulling her for an interview, and this interview's long. It's like 3.5 hours or something like that. And I have watched it. I've actually watched it on multiple different occasions, but I don't want to stick to that. I want to stick to the evidence because you guys should watch it. Actually, I will tag it in the description, but do I feel like, based on what I use for work, for reading body language, feel like there's some major red flags in there? I do. And one of the content creators that we watch is Annie Elise. Annie Elise is really good, and she pointed out in her video of this topic, which it's been a long time since I watched it, but she says that, hey, pay attention to when Nicole picks up her water and takes a drink. And I didn't notice that before, which I'm shocked I didn't. I think I was so focused on reading her body language that I missed the fact that she was picking up the water. But she was like, anytime it seems like she's getting uncomfortable or needs a break in talking, she picks up this water, holds it for a second, and then takes a drink, like extending the thought process.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which I think she's right. I think that, yes, she is totally trying to think of the situation. Now, I came into looking into this with an unbiased mind, from the perspective that she didn't have anything to do with it. By the end of this, I have major questions, man. Here at Thought Riot, we don't assume guilt of anybody. I don't think that that's okay for anybody to do. But we do critically think and look at the evidence at hand here. And this evidence does not look very good, you guys. So
I agree.
I
think I already know most of it.
Yeah.
So
here's another piece of evidence that adds to it. So as you all know, after Chris was polygraphed and failed the polygraph, he admits very quickly, very, very, very quickly. And people think that he did that to cover for Nicole.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I think it's possible, right? I do think that's a possible scenario. I also think it's possible that you have a guy that has no experience with crime. You have a guy that's never been in an interrogation. You have a guy that doesn't know anything about any of this and how it feels like to be in the corner of that little room and have two detectives talking to you, trying to get this information out. And I also think that those detectives did what their job requires and got him to admit. I think that's a real possibility too, right? Well, that's just one little chip to add to the pile, right? I think you could go either way with that. During her interview, Nicole claims that when she met Chris, that she didn't know that he was married, didn't know that he had kids, okay, and they had only just met in June.
She lies.
Yeah. However, when they got hold of her phone, which I gotta say, she didn't give up very easily in that interview. She was very concerned about giving up that phone. They were able to pull that she had been searching Chris Watts almost a full 12 months, a full year before the date that she claims they started dating. And not only that, but Shanann as well.
Yep.
And not only that, but returning to Shanann's Facebook profile regularly, all the time. Borderline stalking.
Exactly. And deleted all of her texts to Chris.
Yep.
Before turning over the phone.
Yep. Deleted texts. And she did also have like Snapchat on her phone, which deletes those text messages. You can't get them back.
I don't think the police even did a search warrant for those.
So here's an important aspect. There's a lot of people out there, okay, including Jay for Justice, that focus on this case. They believe that it could be reopened. It will not. It will not. She was given protected status, okay? They are never going to open this case again. I think this woman, if she's guilty, got away with it.
Yep.
Unfortunately. They are not going to open this again.
She's literally in witness protection, which I cannot understand for the life of me.
Is she
how
in witness
or why.
protection?
Yes.
People caught her with a wig on and stuff like that, and I know she changed her name, but in order to be in WITSEC, you have to have information that the federal government finds worth paying millions of dollars for.
Okay, well, maybe she's just really good at hiding, but from everything I've seen, she changed her name. Like, name change, moved away, living by a different identity. So, I don't know if there's official documentation of, being in witness protection, but that's what a lot of people think.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. I just want to be clear about what the actual facts are of this case, because I know a lot of people try and make these connections too, including Jay for Justice, and I don't mean that in a bad way. A lot of people, again, like I said, have an emotional buy-in to this case.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's important to be able to cover it unbiased, both sides here. I don't think she's in witness protection because they have their guy. There is no reason why she would need to be in witness protection. She did not give anything to get Chris his guilt landed. Chris did Chris in.
I hear you.
So why it's like they want to add this big drama situation to her? No, I think that there could be some involvement on her end. I think there is some good evidence that she was actually with Chris during that morning of when they were getting rid of bodies and things like that. I think the evidence is pretty good, and I think that Chris took the fall for her. If that is the situation, I also think that this woman could be traumatized and damaged and knows nothing but to lie, because we have clear, concrete, solid confirmation of her lying. So,
we do.
Yes. And one thing that I read too, and pure speculation, you guys, a lot of people out there believe that Shanann was setting up an insurance fraud of some type. I didn't have time to look into this, nor did I want to get it mixed up in this video, but they believe that the insurance fraud that she was attempting to set up before the plan with Chris and Shanann happened, they sidestepped into this plan.
You mean Nicole was setting up
what
insurance?
did I say?
You said Shanann.
No, I just said, okay, well,
you said
it's not.
Shanann was setting up insurance fraud.
They sidestepped into ending Shanann from the insurance fraud situation.
So Nicole and Chris were going to set up an insurance fraud scheme?
Like I said, I didn't dig into it.
Okay, but that's what you're saying, right?
That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Nicole.
Nicole, specifically.
Yeah. But again, I didn't dig into it. So it could be both. What I read said Nicole could have, and based on the evidence, it looks like was setting up some kind of insurance fraud scam. And then Chris came along, and it looks like it grew or evolved into ending Shanann and then doing an insurance fraud scam where they could live happily ever after with whatever money. So, but again, understand that's just theory, you guys, just theory. There is no concrete evidence that, not like what we have here with this. So, Nicole claims the first time that she noticed anything was wrong was the night of the murders, where, according to her and the phone call records, they had a 111-minute-long conversation, and that's where she goes on to tell investigators part of the reason she felt really weird about that was that Chris was laying on the bed and there were no sheets on the bed. Strange, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if no sheets on a bed would make me feel weird. For me, that comes off as a red flag, because why does it not mean that they're just washing sheets?
Yeah, that's super weird in my opinion, too. Like, no sheets on the bed doesn't really mean much in my opinion. It's pretty normal to wash your sheets, and if you don't, you're kind of a sicko.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so,
I mean, that makes me think she has knowledge, which the sheets are part of the evidence.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, because that's what the bodies were wrapped in to be transported. So exactly. That's where my mind went also. So, and then other than that, so that is the only thing that she tells investigators that she remembers. Everything else she claims she doesn't remember. Now, when she was interviewed, that call happened 72 hours earlier, 3 days. That's it. 3 days.
Before the murders?
Mm-hmm. 72 hours. So she was on that call 72 hours earlier from that time she was being interviewed.
Okay. So it was while the Shanann was missing.
Yes,
okay,
the day after whatever.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Or same day,
I mean,
but yes.
That's what I thought originally, but then when you said 3 days before, I got confused. But yes, that makes sense. Okay.
Yep. She said that Chris appeared to be too casual about his family being missing, and she contacted police and told them about the affair. Right, okay.
If she was involved and he just confessed, like, she's like pinning it all on him. Throw it on him. I'm going to, tell you what I can without giving too much to incriminate myself.
I mean, she did. Yeah, she sure did.
She didn't really try to protect him, did she?
No, and here's an interesting thing. I wasn't able to confirm this, but when Chris was sent to prison to do his time, she apparently was writing him, and the prison didn't pick it up because she was using her new name. Right.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That is wild,
But
dude.
I also think that's speculation.
I agreed. Yep. Agreed. I couldn't find evidence, but that's interesting.
I would love to read those letters.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here is concrete, firm heart evidence, you guys. Nicole has no alibi for the time of the murders.
Nope.
None. 0. 0, 0, 0. Now, she claims that they had only been dating a few months, right? June of 2018, okay? Well, they found in the evidence where they gathered her phone from that interview that she had been searching Google for, like I said, Chris Watch, which I mentioned earlier, and wedding dresses. 6 months before that. 6 months before that. Yep. Searches for Chris Watts and wedding dresses, and also going so far to say something along the line, is it likely that, is it weird that he's marrying his mistress? Something like that.
I think the searches were like, do married men usually like
Marry their mistresses. That's
And,
right.
like,
You're right. You're right.
Will he leave his wife kind of thing?
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
can't remember the exact terms, but yeah.
Yep.
It was
Along
something
those
like
same
that.
lines. I mean, yeah. So
She was wondering if he would actually, like, be with her and not his wife. Like,
yeah, but that was
clearly
literally
having
a
doubts.
year before she claimed they were together. The morning of the murders, a neighbor saw a truck which was believed to be Nicole's.
Is that Nate?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't say which neighbor, but they believe they saw it. Yeah,
I bet it was Nosy Nate.
it probably
With his security
was.
cameras.
I know.
But, I mean, shout out to him. He caught a murderer.
Now, here's the important thing, okay? You guys know my experience with cell phone data. So at the time, during the murders and ultimate moving of bodies, where Chris's truck was backed up to the garage, right, where Nosy Nate's camera could see moving back and forth and something being loaded in there, something, okay? Nicole's phone pinged in a tower in Frederick, Colorado.
So what does that mean? I don't remember the correlation. How close is that?
So her house, which if she would be doing the same thing that she always did for as far back as they could look back, she would have been at her home at that time, okay? Mm-hmm. Her home was in Avada, I believe, Colorado.
Okay.
And that is in the most favorable distance, 25 minutes away. Now, from certain parts of Frederick to certain parts of Avada, it's 45 minutes away. But it's 30 miles plus
Arvada.
distance. Arvada. It's 30 miles plus of distance away.
Okay.
Very unlikely that there could be a magical mistake with a cell phone ping. And here's why. So I did pull up pictures, and look, you guys that are on here will be watching now, but this is Frederick, and this is Arvada.
Cool.
Down here.
So where's the Watts family home?
Right here.
In Frederick.
In Frederick. And this is her home down here. Actually, it's down here further. So in between the Watts family home and her home is over 50 cell phone towers.
Oh.
Over 50
Wow.
towers. So what is the likelihood that her phone, because she could have been there a night before, whatever, pinged off of his tower?
No.
No. I checked every single tower for their maximum distances on the lowest wavelength, so like 4G, and I even checked 2.5 or 3G. None of them come close. None of them come halfway.
Gosh.
She was there, dude.
I'm so glad you looked into this.
She was there, dude.
Because I did hear rumors of that, and people saying the cell phone pings kind of placed her in the area.
Not kind of. They do.
They do.
They
okay.
do.
I mean, I'm glad you looked
Absolutely.
into it, because I always was curious about that.
Yep, they do. They do. Now this is interesting. I have one thing that I'm excited to show you about, just because I don't know if you've seen this before. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, what? That is crazy." But along the same lines as the phone. Like you said, she tried to destroy a bunch of evidence. Now, giving her the best benefit of the doubt, you guys, because I'm not committing to her guilt. That's not my goal here. It's to ask questions. Maybe she wasn't with her phone. Maybe her phone got left in Chris's truck, okay? There's other things.
Oh.
Very unlikely, okay? But along the same concrete evidence with the phone here. She tried to destroy her SIM card before giving her phone to investigators. Investigators caught it. She tried to delete texts. She tried to delete photos. She tried to delete apps before giving it to the investigators. And if you watch the the interrogation or conversation is really what it was, she's literally on her phone while talking to them.
That's just why this evidence is why I have no clue why investigators didn't look into her and connect her with this crime.
Because they gave her protected status.
That's ridiculous.
That's essentially law enforcement making a commitment that if you tell us everything, we won't come after you. So,
but she was lying. That's the problem.
I get it.
I know they know she was lying. I just know
Well, of course. I mean, this proves it in a lot of different areas. And that's not a theory. That's not a guess, okay? And I'm not saying she's guilty. I'm just saying that sometimes people lie for a reason, okay? And it can be just because they have emotional trauma within them and they're an unhealthy person around these types of tendencies and they do it to gain something emotionally. That's totally possible. But what it stands out as is needing to be looked into further.
Exactly. And her phone could not have been left there because they were having phone calls that night and the morning after. And I don't think she saw him after the murders.
So here's another really crazy thing too. For as far back as you could find, I think it's an entire year worth of cell phone history of hers, or 9 months, or you know what? I think it's 7 months. I think it's 7 months of history. From the time she woke up, which was roughly around the same time every day, to the time she went to bed, she always made at the very, 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 very minimum 1 call per hour. On the morning of the murders, no calls. Nothing. No calls until 3 p.m. So from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So depending on what time she got up that day, whether it was 8 a.m. or 10 a.m., there's roughly between 4 to 7 hours of no calls. Nothing. Zero, zip, nilch. Nada.
She knew something.
I think that she started driving out there and remembered the phone after the fact. She was like, oh, shoot, off, and kept it off until she went into work late at 3 p.m. that same day.
Her going into work late the day after is also, oh my gosh, huge red flag.
Yep.
Huge.
Have you heard the OxyContin concerns? How so Chris Watts admits to trying to get Shanann to have a miscarriage, and he tried to do that by drugging her with OxyContin. Really, I think it's oxycodone, not OxyContin, because you can't get OxyContin very easily. Like, you got to be on your deathbed, even in the 2018.
It's hard.
But I think it more likely was oxycodone. But they believe that it came from Nicole. Because there was a woman calling in to this clinic asking questions along the lines of what does it take, how much could cause a miscarriage, things like that, and they believe it was her. Non-recorded, but they have statement evidence that somebody was calling into this clinic and it was a woman. I know.
You know, she also made comments. The police obtained text messages from Nicole texting her friend saying that she didn't like basically that he had kids, that was kind of like a con of being with him. She wanted to be his first for kids. Did you read those statements?
No.
Okay, my memory is not wonderful, you guys, but I do remember reading those texts when they were posted during all of this, where the friend and her were texting, and she was kind of complaining a little bit and, talking about Chris and basically, like, she wanted to be his first for having kids, and him having kids was, like, a downside.
Dude, that is so strange and so weirdly controlling, manipulative, and just strange.
Yeah, and Chris didn't want Shanann to get pregnant again. He didn't want that. So I think the baby is what sent it over the edge. Like, great, another one. You know what I mean? More tie downs. Like, she wanted to be his first with kids. Like, it just all... From the beginning, I was putting all these pieces
it's like
together.
An obsessive need to fill Shanann's shoes.
Exactly.
So strange, dude.
Like obsession, jealousy,
wanting
to be his everything, wanting to be the first of everything.
Okay.
But at this point, you're adults. You're not going to be the first unless
Ready?
you guys knew each other in school.
Ready for this? And I'll have it posted on the screen for you guys.
Ready.
I didn't want to do another Chris Watts video, but I felt that this was really important. I saw this in a Facebook group, and it comes from the surveillance of the neighbor's house that morning. If you look at the picture on the right, you can see that that person seems to have breasts. Also, they seem to have long hair. Here is another photo. It's not very clear, but here is an outline of that photo. It shows a purse on the back of that person. Looks familiar. When Lifetime did their movie, they had a documentary at the end where one of the agents said she felt the case was closed too early. We need to get them to reopen this case. Also, I got the opportunity to speak with Anna, the girl that is supposedly his girlfriend, and she claims they are not in a relationship.
Is that not insane, dude? That evidence is crazy.
Dude, if she took part in the murder of these babies and
she
this
was
pregnant
there.
woman, if she was indeed there and a part of this...
According to the neighbor's statements, she was there.
That is just so wrong.
I hear you.
Why did they give her that protection status? Why did they do that? And it's something I know everyone invested in this case has asked from the beginning, because everybody had that intuition that she was involved.
I know.
Especially after seeing her interviews with police. It was too much. You could just see contradiction after contradiction.
And here's another really big deal with the interview evidence. She strays from saying the names of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, or Nico.
Yep.
And that is a very, very, very common thing that we see of aggressors with victims in situations like that. So they just try and keep it as far out of their mind as they can, to where they subconsciously don't say their names.
They compartmentalize it almost. Yeah, and they try to push it to the back.
Yeah.
And if they say the name, like, it's a reminder almost.
Yeah.
And they don't want that there because they want to believe that they're innocent so that they can portray that they're innocent.
Yeah. Yep. So to me, this evidence is incredible.
It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. That video... and again, just from my experience in the cell phone industry, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal because, and the reason why it's a big deal is, can cell phones ghost ping off of towers? Yes, they can.
Okay.
But it is so unlikely with 50 towers between you and the place you're going. Where you see ghost pings at is like within range, right? Within range of a tower, a main strong wireless tower that has like 30-mile range, and you're actively using it, so there's active data going through it, and you're driving away from it, and sometimes it'll stay connected to that. If the other towers around it are really full or not as strong, they're smaller towers, things like that, it'll just stay prioritizing that one. None of these towers have the capability to go the distance from near the Watts family home to where she lives. It's impossible. Literally impossible.
Yeah, you got to post those pictures too.
Yeah.
If you guys are audio listeners, you should definitely pop over to the video to see the pictures because Brendan, this is incredible evidence.
Like this is Frederick, and this is one of the main cell phone towers there, and you can see this covering all this area right here, and her house is like way down here, dude. Nowhere even close to it.
Yeah, when we post the video, you should also post these screenshots and evidence on Twitter or something. Yeah,
absolutely. So, do I think they're going to reopen the case and look into her? I don't think so.
I hope so, but I don't think so either.
I think that she got protected witness status, and they are not going to backpedal on that, especially now. They got their guy, and it's very likely, you guys, that Chris is the one who did it, clearly. I think that the way that it was done couldn't be done by Shanann, maybe, but dude, there would be some gnarly
You mean
fighting.
by Nicole?
By Nicole, I'm sorry. By Nicole, the way that it was done couldn't be done by Nicole. It would have to be someone that was able to overpower her.
Overpower Shanann?
Yep.
Shanann was also in from a flight at
Yeah,
1 o'clock
but
that morning.
adrenaline,
She was
dude.
tired. She's
Adrenaline.
pregnant.
Yeah, but in my opinion, that would make you fight more.
I think it's more likely that Chris killed
Yep.
her. Now, when
Because of the type of way. Now, if she was shot or a single stab wound or something like that, oh, dude, I would be willing to say, totally possible. But the way it was done is very uncommon for a woman to do to another woman.
I think it is probably Chris with Shanann, but I question the children with Nicole. I question if she could have been involved in their endings. Because that was a big problem for her.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever know.
I hope so one day.
Yeah.
Maybe
But-
if a private investigator really looks into this and presents all the evidence to the police, they could.
Most
Maybe.
importantly, though, I want to know what you guys think. This was a viewer-requested video, and we would love to know what you think about it.
Yeah. What do you think about old Nicole?
Yeah.
And the cell phone information? That's a bombshell. And the footage from the neighbor's house.
I agree. That footage is insane. It blew me out of my seat.
Does it convince you or sway you in any way? That's what I want to know. Because
Yep.
it does me.
Yep.
And I was like 50-50 on Nicole before this.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. It was a coin toss. But I knew that she
Absolutely.
was hiding. I didn't know why, though. I didn't know if it was like just not wanting her business aired out, if maybe she knew some things would look bad,
Yeah,
but she wasn't actually guilty. She just didn't want to look bad.
She was also searching the other mistress. What was her name again?
I guess it wasn't 50-50. I was more like 70. 70, 70,
so
30.
Nicole also Googled how much Amber Frey's net worth was. Amber Frey was the mistress of Scott Peterson,
Right.
who was convicted of ending his pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson. That
wanted to
is
know about the book
such
deal.
an emotional disconnection from a situation. Like, that's your concern.
It's
strange.
getting a book deal.
Yep, very strange, and just not a very common thing to see from somebody in such a stressful situation. Now, again, just to be clear, I'm not saying that she's guilty, but I do think that police totally had enough evidence here to warrant looking into her further. I really do.
I really do too. And
Yep.
I want to know why they didn't.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of why they didn't?
Yep. Share it below. Let us know.